you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mbawaidim, and on this channel we talk about how to make money, save money, and invest money for the future. I know I've been gone for a few weeks. I really appreciate everyone that reached out to find out how I was doing. I'm doing well. I just have had a lot going on in my real life, so I had to put this in the back burner for a little bit, but I'm back here today and, going to continue these conversations. Today, I wanted to talk about a topic that a lot of people have been asking me about, and basically, we're going to be talking about insurance, life insurance. I would like to discuss the various types, how much is enough, when to get a life insurance policy, basically who needs a life insurance policy, and all of that, because those are the kind of questions that I've been getting. So without further ado, I'm going to go into it. But if you know anyone who would be interested in this kind of content, please remember to share with them. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, what you doing? Please go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you can get notified whenever I post new videos. All of that said, so my goal today is to encourage you to get a life insurance policy if you don't have one already. And basically, life insurance is, I personally think life insurance is really critical for anyone who has anybody that depends on them, right? So if you have any dependents, if you have any people that depend on your source of income, in the event that you die, not only will they be mourning your presence and all the other ways that you add to their lives, but they will also be missing your financial contribution to their lives. So if you have any dependents, it's really important that you get a life insurance policy so that your family is taken care of in the event that you're no longer here with us. I know that life insurance is kind of a morbid topic to discuss, but it's really important because, again, it takes care of your family when, you can't take care of them financially anymore. So if you don't have a policy yet, please, as soon as you're done watching this, go ahead, go online and get a quote from any insurance company, really. And you can kind of shop around and get different quotes and then commit to one and just buy it and take care of your family. Do this one thing that will take care of your family financially, because really nobody knows tomorrow, right? The next question that usually comes up is, how much should I have? Like, how much insurance should I have? Some people think that you can't have enough. Like, you can literally just buy a lot. But I think the recommendation I've heard that goes around is to get about 10 times your salary, 10 times your annual income. Just because that's a nice amount that makes sure that your family is taken care of for a while while they're trying to get back on their feet. It also is an amount that, if invested properly, can really take care of your family for long term, especially if you have young kids who, need to basically be raised until they become adults. You have a house that needs to get paid for. Maybe you had a partner that wasn't necessarily in the workforce. All of that will give them time to, get used to the new normal, while at the same time being okay financially. Now, there are different types of life insurance, right? And I want to talk about 3 of them. That's not by any means an exhaustive list of the types of life insurance, but I think these are the 3 ones that are the most common, especially in our community. Okay, so the first one is term life insurance. The next one I'll be talking about is whole life, and then finally index universal life insurance. Now, that third one is one that you might have heard about, because there are a lot of people who are discussing and trying to sell index universal life insurance. I'll be highlighting all 3 of them. I'll tell you which one I like the best and which one I recommend. And then I think in a future video, maybe we can go into some more depth of index universal life, because that's the one that I've gotten the most questions about. But for today, I wanted us to just, encourage you to get a plan, tell you, give you a recommendation for how much is good, and then try to talk about these different types so that you have some direction and some guidance when you're shopping around, so you know what you're looking for. All right. So, term life insurance, as the name implies, is a life insurance policy that covers you for a particular term. What that would typically be for a lot of insurance companies would be a 10-year, 20 or 30-year term. And what that means is if you die within the term period that you've bought, then your family is going to get, or your beneficiary is going to get the payout for the plan that you bought. If you thankfully do not die during that period, which is what everyone wants, then your beneficiary won't get anything, right? Like if the policy is over by the time you die, your beneficiary won't get anything. Now, whole life is a plan where you just keep paying for the plan as long as you're alive, and regardless of when you die, your family is going to get a payout for whatever your plan covered. And then finally, Index Universal Life is another, in some kind of way, another whole life insurance policy, just because you keep paying for it until, well, you're covered until whenever you die, right? There's no term period associated with Index Universal Life. Now, the difference between Index Universal and whole life is that a portion of your premium gets invested into the market, and you ultimately get returns on that, right? So what that means is, beyond you just paying into a life insurance policy, some of it is actually getting invested in the market, and you can actually start to take money out of it while you're alive. You don't necessarily even have to die for you to start getting money. Sounds pretty sweet, right? All right, but so surprisingly, or maybe not, the one that I recommend is term life insurance. And the reason for that is because it's cheap. Now, hear me out. Like I said, term life doesn't cover you indefinitely. It covers you for a period of time. But you will find that a term life insurance policy, it would cost you probably less than 20% of what a whole life or an Index Universal Life insurance policy would cost for the same amount of coverage, right? So what that means is, if I had a policy that would cost me $100 if I was getting a whole life insurance policy, I could pay less than $20 a month for that same policy if it was a term plan. Now, obviously, the disadvantage is that you're not covered indefinitely, but the goal on this channel is for us to be building wealth such that, a few years from now, we're financially independent, right? You're in a place where even if you were not here today, your family will be taken care of. So I like to think of insurance as a way to protect my family while I'm in the process of building wealth. I don't think of it as the same vehicle as my investment. So I don't think of insurance as an investment. I think of it as a way to protect my family while I'm building myself financially. So, if I think that it's going to take me 20 or 30 years to get to a place where I'm, safe to self-insure, then I'll get a term life insurance policy for those 20 or 30 years to give me time to build wealth, so that by the time I'm getting my term plan is over, I'm in a place where I'm so financially secure that, my life insurance policy, I could really do without it, right? And the caveat here is that the additional money that I would have been putting into a life insurance policy, I'm investing. So it's not a case where I say, okay, well, instead of getting this whole life plan, which would have cost me $100, I'm going to get a $20 one, and then I'm going to spend the rest of the money anyhow. No, I'm intentionally saying, well, I need a plan to cover my family in case I'm not here to support them until I'm financially independent. But, I just need a plan to take me up to that point. So that's what I generally recommend. Now, a whole life has the attraction that, you're covered indefinitely, but they can be really expensive. Just to give an example, the amount I've gotten quite a few quotes for whole life insurance, and just ultimately decided that it was not necessarily a good financial investment. because just based on how much I'm willing to, only would be able to cover myself for about 100,000, 150,000, which is good money, but really won't go all that far if my family was going to depend on that, right? And yet that is the monthly premium for that, even for me who is sort of young and a woman, is still pretty steep. So what I found is that it just makes sense to get a term plan to cover yourself while you're building, and then build until you get to a point where you can self-insure. The final one is Index Universal Life Insurance. And this one is one that, I've gotten a lot of questions about. Naturally, by the fact that I say I recommend term life, I don't necessarily recommend IUL. Definitely not for everyone. I think Index Universal, the way that this one works is you're covered indefinitely also. So there's no term within which you must die. No, so you're covered indefinitely. Like your family is going to get the payout regardless of when you die. And then in addition, a portion of your premium gets invested in the market. So you can actually kind of pull money out of it. It sounds great, right? The only thing is that by looking at it more closely, you will find out that the way that IUL gets sold is they guarantee you that you're not going to lose any money. So in the years that the market is doing really bad, and that if you were invested in the market yourself, you would have lost money, they make sure you don't lose any money. So the insurance company basically sucks up the losses. But in the years that the market does extremely well, which it has for the last 10, 12, 13 years, well, that's pushing it, which it has for the last couple of years, you don't get the full benefit, right? So if the annual average over the last few years has been, let's say, 12, 13%, the insurance company caps it at a certain amount, maybe 7%. So you're not getting the full benefit that you would have been getting if you were invested in the market directly. So I generally prefer to get a term plan and then invest in the market so that I'm getting the best of both worlds. I can afford a pretty significant amount for term life insurance because it's generally cheaper. But then I can also invest in the market and get the full benefit, right? And even in the years when there are losses in the market, the market eventually recovers. So much so that an average over a long period of time lets you come up ahead than if you had gone the IUL route where you're like, okay, yes, I'm not losing any money at all, but I'm also not making that much when the market is doing really well. So I would only ever recommend IUL for someone who was so scared of ever looking like they were losing money, right? Like if you were too afraid to even mess with the market at all, then I guess IUL is a plan that would allow you some exposure to the market, while at the same time insuring your family. But like I said, my primary recommendation is usually term for the period that your dependents are going to grow up, and also to cover the period that you yourself are going to need to build your wealth to a place where you can be basically financially independent. So, if you didn't take anything else from this video, please get a life insurance policy if you have anyone dependent on you. Get it if you can. Get a term life plan for 20 or 30 years that is up to the amount, up to about 10 times your annual salary if you can afford to do that. Again, there are a lot of insurance companies out there. It's pretty easy to get a quote online, and once you get a quote, they would hound you to buy a policy from them. You can just go online, try to get an insurance company, give them your information. Basically, they'll be interested in your gender, your age, and then sometimes they would do a health profile to try to figure out what your state of health is, and decide whether or not they can cover you and how much it'll cost. And you can kind of shop around and see what the different quotes that you get from different insurance companies are to figure out what works best for you. But definitely, if you don't have one already, please get a life insurance policy. And then the final thing, a lot of us are insured through our jobs. But a lot of the time, that's not necessarily sufficient, because what I've found is that a lot of companies would cover maybe a year of your salary, which is better than nothing, but you can do better just by paying a few bucks a month, right? Like literally $20 a month, $30, $40 a month would cover you for a pretty significant amount if you get a term life insurance policy and if you're healthy and young. So definitely, if you don't have one, please go out, do your research, and get one today. Today. The other thing about getting covered through work is that if you lose your job, you're no longer covered. If you quit your job, and a lot of us think, okay, well, if I stop working here, then I'm going to go out and get another plan. But sometimes things just happen so quickly that you don't have time to start doing that, right? And if you lose your job, let's say you stop working because you got sick or something, at that point, insurance companies won't want to cover you anyway. So it's better for you to just do it now. Get it taken care of so that you know that your family is taken care of, at least financially, in the event that you're no longer here. It's hard enough when they have to deal with your absence emotionally, mentally, but having to not worry about finances would be a big gift that you'd be leaving for them. So again, if you've watched up to this point, thank you for sticking with me. If you found this content useful, please share with someone that might also find it useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I post new videos in the future if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. I know this was kind of a morbid topic, but I got a lot of questions about this and I wanted to just go ahead and address it. Last night I found out that the King of Wakanda passed. For a lot of us, it was a sober reminder of just how fleeting life is. So, I'll just repeat what everyone has been saying. Be kind. Be kind to everyone. Let the people that you love know that you love them. Don't leave any doubts in their minds. Live life fully. Empty it all out. Leave everything that you have here because we're not taking anything with us. So if you have anything that you've wanted to do, now's a good time to get started with it. It's amazing the legacy that he's left, and a lot of us are not going to be able to leave that kind of legacy, but definitely start to think about the way that you're touching the lives of everyone around you, and just do your best to leave this place a better place than you met it. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great rest of the weekend and have a good week ahead. Thank you.